Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Pizza Buffet powered by Pinnacle Sportsbook here on the Hammer Betting Network. We are live on the Forward Progress channel on YouTube and at Forward NFL on Twitter. As usual, well, I would say a little bit different this week because we got games that are spanning 3 days instead of the usual Sunday morning preview, but I'm going to go through every single game on the board, and I'll lock in any bets that I think are still worth making, and I'll lock them in against Pinnacle's lines, as Pinnacle is the official sportsbook partner of the Pizza Buffet. Pinnacle is the world's sharpest sportsbook, now available in Ontario. Find out what professional bettors have known for decades. Pinnacle is where the best bettors play. You must be 19 plus in Ontario. Please play responsibly. Not available to U.S. residents. I think what I'm going to do today is switch it up a little bit. I'm going to start with the Sunday games, then go to Monday, Dallas, Tampa Bay, and then I'll come back to today's games right at the end because, frankly, still some weather conditions to sort out in San Francisco, and I want to continue monitoring that, but also because that's just the way I feel like doing it. So that's the way I am going to do it today. As usual, please play responsibly. I do preach this on a weekly basis. It's the NFL playoffs. Not going to lie to you people. Not a ton of edges to be had out there. With that said, there are a few games that I like this week. For those who've been watching the Forward Progress channel over the course of the week, probably won't surprise you. I'll give my raw numbers on every single game, what I make the game, both side, and the total. You can do with that what you wish, and we will just go from there. For those who are looking for more content tonight, during Saturday Night Football, Chargers and Jags, I will be doing a live watch-along over on the Hammer HQ. Make sure you're subscribed to that YouTube channel, but I'm going live about 15 minutes before the game, all the way through the entire game. We won't be able to obviously stream the game, YouTube copyright issues, whatever, but I will be watching it. I'll be joined by guests, Eric Eager, Drew Dinsick, Clive Bixby, who you guys all know from the Forward Progress channel as well. So that should be pretty fun tonight. Hopefully a good game between the Chargers and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's get into it. Again, I'm going to start with Sunday, and we'll work our way back. I'm going to bring in the betstamp app here. As always, you can download betstamp on Android or iOS. Check out the website, betstamp.app. That's .app at the end. Tomorrow's card, Miami and Buffalo. So we'll start here. Pinnacle's now moved up to 14. Still some 13.5s in market. Juice 13.5s. Some of the more softer recreational books, 13.5 minus 110. Pinnacle taking a stance on the total here, lower than the rest of the market. Rest of the market is at 43.5. Pinnacle is at 43. That's typically telling. There is something that's called the Pinnacle lean. And if we look at this game in particular tomorrow, Pinnacle taking 20K on it as it stands right now, shaded towards the under relative to the rest of the market. Talked about this game a lot this week. Finally, I think the market is starting to get out closer to where I make this game. So my raw number on this game is Buffalo minus 14.25, 14.25, and my total is 42.7. Don't think that there's anything to lock in here at the 14 against Pinnacle's number. Obviously, if you still have access to a 13.5, I would go with it. This is very much a subjective guess for me because trying to ascertain what Skylar Thompson is worth at the quarterback position is nearly impossible to do right now. I think this is a significant drop-off. And some people might feel free to disagree and say, Tua is not worth that much. Can't be worth like 7-8 points. I think it's very substantial, and it's been reflected in the numbers for the Miami offense this season whenever they have been without Tua. You look at their top receivers, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. They're not running further down the field in terms of their routes. They're not targeted as much with Skylar Thompson either. I just think it's going to be very difficult and challenging for the Dolphins to move the ball. And if their defense was better, I would give them a fighting chance in this game. However, it's just not a good defense. We saw this prior to Christmas when the Dolphins went on the road to Buffalo for a primetime game. Dolphins defense really struggled to get stops in that game. Josh Allen played really well, was able to distribute it to his receivers in that one. Earlier in the year, very misleading final score where the Dolphins beat the Bills at home, and that was courtesy of a ton of turnovers for the Buffalo Bills in that game. And then you just add in a bunch of other things here. I mean, it's not only Tua that's out. Raheem Mostert, not really tangible impact on the spread. Teron Armstead's probably playing banged up like he has been for most of the year. Their left guard is out for the Dolphins. Brandon Shell was on the injury report, the right tackle this week as well. Bradley Chubb is beat up, playing a little bit hurt as well right now. So I just think this is a very, very tough situation for this Dolphins team. And I don't know what their max output is on offense, but I figure it's very low because I just don't think Skylar Thompson is an NFL caliber quarterback right now. So extremely challenging to put a number on the game, strong lean to Buffalo, but not enough here where I'm going to be able to lock in anything now that Pinnacle has moved out to 14. I think the market has kind of adjusted to the price where I would make it. Okay, second game tomorrow, Giants and the Vikings. So we have Giants +3 -112 at Pinnacle. Very good price in market relative to a lot of the other books. Total 48.5. Juice to the under. A lot of books sitting just on 48 flat right now. I'm going to go ahead and lock in the Giants for a standard play. So a base unit of $100 as we've been tracking over the last several years. And this is where I'm going to play it. I make Minnesota a 2.3 point favorite in this game. So definitely on the other side of 3 being a very, very impactful number, an important number in terms of the betting market, as most games in the NFL are going to fall on 3. I've upgraded Minnesota slightly for Garrett Bradbury being back. However, they're still missing their right tackle, which is going to be an issue for them in this game in particular, I would think, with Brian O'Neill on IR right now. So challenging for the Vikings O-line. Don't like the O-line in the first place. Now you're missing a stud right tackle. Garrett Bradbury, who's dealing with a back injury for a while now. Who knows what his health is going to be at in this game. In terms of the Giants, they're getting Adoree Jackson back at cornerback, so that's big for them. It's the first time in a long time they've had Jackson opposite Fabian Moreau, Cordale Flott there as well. A pretty healthy Giants team all around. Evan Neal appeared on the injury report late in the week. I don't think Evan Neal is a big loss if he cannot go in this game. Ultimately, I just don't see much separating these two teams. We saw them play a few weeks ago, and in my opinion, that was a very misleading final score. Vikings come back, they win that game. I mean, that's kind of been the precedent for them for the entire season, but by my expected points values, which I like to run on every single game, I would have had the Giants winning that game by an average of close to 3 points, and they ended up losing outright. Giants, 6.9 yards per play in that game to the Vikings, 5 yards per play. Very substantial difference. The difference maker being the Giants turned the ball over 2 times, and the Vikings did not. So Vikings get some extra possessions in that game. But first of all, I'm not high on the Vikings defense. Don't see a lot of games where there's just like this huge path to success for the Vikings defense overall and being able to shut down anybody. Personnel-wise, I don't think they're great. They don't generate a huge rush. I think they benefit probably a lot in this game by a large home field advantage, a very loud, raucous environment inside that dome. Daniel Jones' first career playoff start. But the Vikings have to play a lot of looks where they only put 6 men in the box because their secondary is pretty weak, and they've been exposed a lot this year. And I think that kind of just plays into what the Giants want to do. They got a lot of 6-man box looks in their first matchup. They were able to run the ball effectively. I would expect more of the same in this game. On the other side of things, I don't think the Giants will completely shut down the Vikings offense. You have Justin Jefferson, who is an elite playmaker, and New York does they blitz a lot. They blitz more than any other team in the league with Wink Martindale, their defensive coordinator. That's going to lead to I think, some sacks on Kirk Cousins and some bad throws, but it's probably also going to lead to a lot of Justin Jefferson one-on-one where he does some good things. Ultimately, though, we have seen Kirk Cousins' numbers against pressure this year a lot worse than when he has a clean pocket. And when you consider that the Vikings finished the regular season with the 9th highest pressure rate allowed against the blitz, 45% pressure rate allowed against the blitz, and the fact that this is what the Giants do, I think there's a lot of scenarios where Kirk Cousins can make a mistake in this game. So I don't agree with the number. Been down on Minnesota for a while, obviously, for those who've been watching all year. I just can't get here. I can't get to this number. Showtime asks, is the Giants money line worth the play? Absolutely. So again, let's just pull back the market back up here, give a quick refresh. So Pinnacle plus 138, very strong number in market, but typically if I find value on the underdog against the spread, I'm going to find value in the money line. That's not always the case. There's some weird and wonky distributions in the NFL, but yes, I do think the money line's worth a look in this game as well. Final game, Cincy and Baltimore. So Pinnacle, this is a weird number, and again, I people might see this every now and then, and Pinnacle tends to do stuff like this. They do have a drop-down bar where you can just kind of adjust the number, and this -10 plus 118 or +10 minus 133 is the equivalent of an 8.5 in market. So don't think that this is like any sort of a weird number. It's just kind of like a weird derivative of it. Total is 40.5. This is probably the game that I had the least opinion on this week. Maybe not, but never really came close. Like once the market adjusted for Lamar Jackson being out, very likely Tyler Huntley getting the start in this game, I kind of think it's just settled into the right spot right now, which is 8.5. That's very, very close to my true number on the game, which is 8.34. Total, I have slightly lower than this at 40.1, but not a ton to be done here. I'm a little bit concerned with Cincinnati's offensive line right now. Alex Kappa, their right guard, is out. Lyle Collins, their right tackle, is out as well. He's on IR. Did not play last week in the game against the Baltimore Ravens as Hakeem Adeniji replaced him at right tackle. But wasn't an impressive Bengals performance offensively last week. You ask yourself, well, a game didn't really I don't want to say it didn't mean anything because obviously the Bengals could have secured this as a home game, but did they show all the tricks? Was it a vanilla offensive game plan? Really interesting, to kind of break it down. And I don't know the answer to it, but I will say that the first game that the Bengals played against the Ravens this year, they ran the ball 21 times for 101 yards, and they got 2.4 yards before contact per carry. So they were able to run the ball pretty efficiently in that game. Last week, the Ravens played the Bengals very differently, and the Bengals ran for 55 yards on 20 carries overall, 0.15 yards before contact per carry. So Ravens pretty close to being in the backfield regularly, and the Ravens played a loaded box 45% of the time, way higher than the first time this year. And they were able to contain Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. Now, Tyler Boyd left the game briefly to get checked for a concussion. T. Higgins left the game briefly as he got the wind knocked out of him. Just have to take that into account as well. But I think the Bengals' defensive front seven could cause some chaos in this game. The challenge I have is that I have zero faith in Tyler Huntley and the Ravens offense. And I said this when Lamar Jackson gets hurt, and occasionally I'm going to give myself the Barry Horowitz pat on the back here. And I'm going to do that in this situation because there was a lot of talk about, the downgrade from Tyler Huntley, from Lamar Jackson to Tyler Huntley, isn't that great? And I mean, I don't know what people watch. Like here's the thing with Tyler Huntley. He covered a lot of spreads last year, and he's like a serviceable backup, but he is not anywhere near a very good quarterback like Lamar Jackson is. And like, let's look at the offensive outputs for the Ravens this year with Tyler Huntley starting at quarterback. They lost to Pittsburgh, scored 13 points. They beat Atlanta at home. They scored 17 points. They lost to Cleveland. They scored 3 points. They beat Pittsburgh on the road. They scored 16. They beat Denver. They scored 10. They have not scored more than 17 points in 5 games that Tyler Huntley has quarterbacked them in this year. And one of those games was the Atlanta defense. Like, you can give them a pass for Denver, Pittsburgh a couple times, even Cleveland. I don't see high ceiling for this offense. So I think if you're betting Baltimore, you're just kind of praying and hoping that like the Ravens defense keeps you in the game. Maybe you get a defensive touchdown. That's the challenge. Cincinnati, in my opinion, decent teaser play here. Again, qualifies in the Wong teaser category, bringing the team down through 7, down through 3 to 2.5. Think the probability of Cincinnati winning the game is extremely high, or winning by 3+. But I'm not as confident in this Bengals team with the injuries on the right side of the offensive line going into this. Chris, just to let you know, I'm doing today's games at the end, so we'll catch up here. Okay, so that's Sunday. Completely out of the way here. Let's go to Monday. Bucks and Cowboys. So quick refresh, get this opened up. Okay, market is 2.5 now. Across the board, all those threes that were around like very early in the week are gone. Total's kind of been quiet as well, 45.5. We haven't seen a lot of movement in this game since the original move. I'm going to play a small play here on Tampa Bay, $50 on the money line to win 61.50. No one can ever accuse me of being a biased Dallas Cowboys fan. Obviously, if you look behind me in the background, you see the Cowboys logo here and the Raptors championship ring. I was looking for that. Didn't know where it was. It's a banger ring right there. Raptors championship ring. Cowboys are my favorite team. And I'd be very happy if they won this game, and I was completely wrong about my take on this game. However, I don't think the Bucs are the greatest matchup for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, actually kind of like not high on either of these teams headed into the playoffs. Wish they didn't play each other. However, we get a very healthy Bucs defense for the first time in a long time. Pretty much everyone trending towards playing. Secondary fully healthy. They haven't had Jamel Dean, Carlton Davis, and Sean Murphy-Bunting all on the field together in a long time. Doesn't look like Ryan Jensen will play at center. He's the player that, if they get back next week, then you're starting to wonder, okay, like, can the Bucs make a run? But this Cowboys team, they're very challenging in terms of like what is their market rating right now, because the latter half of the year they have not played particularly well, and I think they're brought up and bolstered by the first half of the season where they were a little bit better. Cooper Rush played well for them. Dak Prescott came back from injury. They were playing well, but down the stretch haven't played well. Is that a product of not really playing for anything? I don't know, because there was never really a realistic shot they were going to win the division, especially over the last 5 or 6 weeks. I guess there was always some outside hope. But the issue with the Dallas Cowboys, which has been going on for a long time now, is 2 impactful injuries in their secondary that has kind of changed the look of this defense altogether. So Jordan Lewis went on IR earlier in the year, then Anthony Brown went on IR after that. Deron Bland got thrust into a starter's role, and he's done a great job for a 5th-round rookie. Can't blame him. Trayvon Diggs has been okay as well, but they don't have depth at that position. And teams have been picking on this quite a bit lately. People look at the Cowboys sack totals in the latter half of the year, and they're like, oh, like the Cowboys aren't generating pressure anymore. That's not true. They're generating pressure very consistent with the amount that they had generated earlier this year. The problem is that they're not getting any coverage sacks anymore. So quarterbacks are taking more chances when they're under pressure, and they're completing passes downfield. And if the Bucs throw the ball in this game, very similar to how they attacked Dallas in week 1. And that was a healthy Cowboys team. I think the Bucs will win this game. Now that's a huge if, and this is why this is a smaller play, because the Bucs have done a lot of, they've had a lot of very questionable game plans this year. Byron Leftwich seems very committed to running the ball. I don't know how much of that's Todd Bowles or Byron Leftwich, but there is a possibility here that they just hand off on early downs again, run into stacked boxes, aren't able to do anything, and then the Cowboys defense will be in favorable positions for the rest of the game. But if they do throw the ball, I like the opportunity for Mike Evans to win some matchups in this game. I like the opportunity for Chris Godwin to win some matchups, Russell Gage to win some matchups, Julio Jones to win some matchups, even Scotty Miller if he sees the field as well. This could be a game where the Bucs offense looks good. So that's kind of where I'm a little bit off market here. In terms of Dallas's offense, don't really know what to make of them. Dak Prescott obviously didn't have a great second half of the year. A lot of people pointing it out. Dak is a turnover machine. A lot of people were talking about Matt Stafford being a turnover machine in the latter half of the year last year before they got to the playoffs and went on a run. So, that's entirely, it's, I don't want to say it's a matter of opinion. It's not. He has been a turnover machine. But I also still think he's a better quarterback than people give him credit for. Especially if Dallas utilizes him in more play action, getting him on the move, and so on and so forth. So that's my opinion on the game. I made this the true money line in this game, closer to minus 105, plus 105. That's why I'm playing the money line here. I think that's a decent bet. And would never want it to be more wrong about a game. Just on a personal level, Tom Brady's never lost to the Cowboys. I know this, didn't even have to look it up. Never lost to the Cowboys. I have a lot of bad memories of Cowboys games against Brady. And God, I would love a win. Would love a win. All right, into today's games. Before I do, you talking props at all? I'll let people know really quickly for some games what I've already played in terms of props, but I didn't play a ton this week and didn't find a ton of value. I definitely will lock in some for Chargers and Jags tonight when I do the live stream on Hammer HQ, but there isn't really a lot of props to talk about. All right. Today's games. Start with Seattle, San Fran, coming up here in a bit. Again, Pinnacle number, pretty much the exact same as San Fran as the rest of the market when you move off the 10 and click that drop-down box. Total down to 42. So, hopefully I have some coffee still left in here. I do. You probably have seen, maybe you haven't seen, but the weather in Santa Clara today has been horrendous. And there's been a lot of stuff on social media about the conditions. Like, we're talking torrential downpour. We're talking high winds, 35, 40 miles an hour. That's starting to settle down now as I look at weather reports. I am not a meteorologist. I don't claim to be. I've been betting the NFL a long time, using different sources for weather and so on and so forth. It seems that the weather is only going to improve as the game goes on. And just looking at the start time here, 4:30, winds should be down into the range of 10 to 15 miles an hour. If we get rain, it's probably a little bit lighter. The biggest issue I would say is probably the field overall, just because there's so much rain. Potentially maybe a reduced home field advantage if people aren't able to get to the stadium on time. Don't know about that. That's just pure speculation. But I don't think it's going to have a major impact on the game. Maybe a very small downtick in the scoring environment, but not a major impact on the game. Let's get that out of the way. I don't have a strong opinion on the game. My number is right in and around market. It's everything I'm going to talk about is incorporated into my number in the game. But I have a hard time seeing Seattle move the ball in this game just because We've already seen this matchup twice this year. And if we look at EPA per dropback and we chart every one of Geno Smith's games this year, his second worst game and his third worst game both came against the 49ers defense. Seattle has not been able to figure this out yet. And the particular issue in both of these matchups is the 49ers defense in both these games were able to get a ton of pressure without having to blitz. And I don't know what solution Seattle has in place today for that to happen, but they were consistently able to get pressure without the blitz. Now, there's holes in the 49ers defense. We saw Jared Stidham take advantage of this a couple weeks ago. The secondary's not great. They don't have the best matchups against DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. But so far, 2 games, 49ers, tons of pressure on Geno Smith. Can Kenneth Walker offset some of this? I imagine this is what Seattle is going to try to do. Everything about Pete Carroll is run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. This is probably their game plan going forwards. I just don't think that that's going to work. San Fran has a very strong run defense. They finished the regular season with the lowest explosive run rate in the NFL, with 4.1%, extremely low. I don't know that this is a path to success for Seattle. Is it possible? Of course. This is the NFL. Anything can happen. You have Brock Purdy playing his first career playoff game. Same as Geno Smith, but Brock Purdy was a 7th round pick. Could it be a game where he completely craps the bed? Of course it could be. I just don't have enough faith in the Seattle offense here. 49ers offense, I mean, it's looked good for the vast majority of the Brock Purdy era. Is the Seahawks defense going to be the one to slow them down? I don't know that they are. George Kittle has huge matchup advantages over the middle of the field. The acquisition of Christian McCaffrey was huge for this team. Just a great target underneath that is able to get consistent yards after the catch. Unless the weather worsens, I have a hard time seeing Seattle be competitive. However, this is the NFL. Anything happens. I'm not willing to lay the big price with San Fran either. So at this point, I'm going into this game with nothing. And we'll see if I get involved in a live bet. All right, final game on the board. Let's get out of Seattle, San Fran here. And the Chargers, Jags tonight. So a reminder, I'm live streaming this game. Live watch along. Please join me. I mean, I think we'll have a good time with it. Hammer HQ, going to go live right around 8 o'clock Eastern, roughly at that time. And going to watch this game from start to finish with some special guests. Clyde Bixby, Eric Eager, Drew Dinsick, the whale capper. I think we'll have some fun with it. Have the game on. Can't stream the game, obviously, but a live watch along. I'll give you my thoughts as things go on. If I make some live bets, you'll hear about them live in real time as well. Big news yesterday. We talked about it with Spreadopedia and Hitman on the Forward Progress channel yesterday. Mike Williams being out. Market didn't have a huge reaction in terms of the side. This was sitting 2.5 everywhere yesterday. Moves to 2 at Pinnacle. Totals definitely come down here. 47.5s are gone, with the exception of 1 on the board. Got down to 47, like under 47 minus 115. Some other market making books, I think, even moved to 46.5 today before getting bet back up again. But we're landing on 47, which is a key number here. So the total's been bet down after the Mike Williams injury. I would have liked the Chargers quite a bit in this game, but I cannot bet them anymore without Mike Williams. I think that this is an impactful injury for the Chargers offense. Does that mean, does Mike Williams being out mean that the Chargers can't move the ball? No, it doesn't. But I think he's worth something. And so far this season, we've seen this manifested in Justin Herbert's numbers without Mike Williams on the field. With Mike Williams, 69% completion rate, 7.1 yards per attempt, passing success rate, 46.4%. That's 12th best in the league. Without Williams, completion rate drops 2.5%. Yards per attempt drops almost a full yard to 6.2. Passing success rate down to 45%. That's the 20th best. So it goes from 12th to 20th without Mike Williams. it's a significant injury, especially on third downs where he's highly targeted. I think that this is important. I do think the Jags defense is very overrated by virtue of the quality of competition that they played in the latter half of the season. When they did step up in class this year against better offenses, the defense didn't look good. So I do think that the defense is overrated. And, the Chargers can still potentially move the ball, but no longer a bet at this point. In terms of why the market didn't really react all that much, I have some theories on this, but there's been talks out there of like, oh, is Mike Williams really impactful? Market didn't really move a whole lot off the injury news. Well, the Chargers took a ton of money early on in the week. Remember that this was just one-way action. So a lot of people bet the Chargers earlier in the week. If you're sitting on a Chargers position, so a lot of people are just going to hold that position and not really buy back on Jacksonville and just pay vig twice if on the injury news. So that's one thing. The second thing in regards to this game is like, look at my scenario, for example, right? I make the game close to 2.5 if Mike Williams plays in the game. And now he's out and I make the game closer to 1.5. Am I going to go out and bet the Jags? Like, there's not a ton of value in the Jags at that price. So, I mean, it's not something that, like, I think there's a lot of numbers that just lie in this dead area of the Chargers being a small favorite where somebody just doesn't want to take a stance in market. So that's my personal hypothesis on this. In terms of the total, agree with it coming down on the again, I think that's impactful. Should this go below 47, though, I would definitely have some interest in the over. All right, quick recap of the picks for this weekend, which are, I mean, we got at least a couple in here. So Giants +3, -112. That's a full unit. And then Monday Night Football, I'm playing Tampa Bay on the money line, +123. In the interest of full transparency, I am down overall, 2.5% ROI. This is over the course of many years now, tracking bets into full limits. I don't claim to be someone that can beat full limits in the NFL. I highly advise betting earlier in the week, trying to get the best of the number. I mean, could have got some very good positions this week, Bengals especially on the other side of 7. Bills earlier on in the week, obviously. So for me, tail at your own risk, so to speak. But again, highly recommend betting earlier on in the week. All right. I think that's going to be it for me. I appreciate everyone who tuned in on the pizza buffet here on Forward Progress this afternoon. Wish you the best of luck with your bets today. And again, live stream tonight, Hammer HQ. Head on over, subscribe. Going live right around 8 o'clock Eastern, maybe a little bit past that. But live watch along, join me. You can have the game on your TV, muted or volume low. You can have YouTube on your second screen experience, your phone, your laptop, whatever. Okay, props. Really quickly for Will. I know these have been running hot for the last couple weeks when I've been giving them out, but I'll go through what I bet today. And these are tracked on my own personal betstamp account, which is open up on my phone over here. I played George Kittle over 43.5 receiving yards at -115. Still think that one's available in market. I think that number's too low. I played Brock Purdy under 222.5 passing yards at -115. I think just via the game state here, hopefully I'm correct, but obviously the spread, 9.5, would indicate that the 49ers are probably leading a lot in this game. I think a lot of targets to George Kittle in the early going. I think eventually the 49ers are running the ball a lot. So that's what I played in the early game today. A little bit of Geno Smith under on rushing yards, 16.5, -110. That was a smaller play. Playoffs tend to be a different beast in terms of quarterbacks being willing to lay it on the line. So not as confident in that as if it was a regular season game, but a tiny bit of Geno Smith under there as well. The late game tonight. So these are things I locked in already. I played DeAndre Carter over 25.5 receiving yards at minus 120. That number's come up a bit, but honestly, I don't think it's come up enough. DeAndre Carter over. I'll lock in a few more on the stream later on tonight. Not widely available right now, but I have a few other things that I'm targeting. Probably Austin Eckler in the passing game. For tomorrow, I played a small play on Mike Gesicki over 15.5 receiving yards at minus 120. Very small. Super not confident in that one, but that was a number that stood out to me overall. What else do I got here? Joe Mixon over 20.5 receiving yards, minus 120. I think that one has been bet up significantly. I'd probably go up to like 24.5, 25 yards on that one with where I model Joe Mixon in that game. And I played J.K. Dobbins under 61.5 rush yards, minus 110. I just feel like the Bengals are going to stack boxes in this game and force Tyler Huntley to beat them. Don't see any way, I don't see any way the Bengals don't do that. I don't think they're going to invite the run from the Baltimore Ravens. So those are the props that I played. Brian asks about teasers. The playoff market is probably about as efficient as it gets. With that said, you do have some unknowns, right? Like the Bills game, for example, right? No one really knows what Skylar Thompson is. So I would have trouble playing a teaser in that game regardless. Where the number is now, I'm going to have a problem playing a teaser in that game regardless. But that is a relative unknown. Other games, though, even Brock Purdy, Geno Smith, Geno Smith, I guess, a known quantity. Brock Purdy's not. Chargers, Jags. Jags is probably a decent teaser play op, right? Bengals down, Bucks up. We kind of know what those teams are, so I don't hate those. Those would be the best looks in terms of a teaser this week. Okay. I have to boot it over to Betstamp headquarters. I'll be filming that live in studio tonight. Live watch along. Join me on Hammer HQ. Again, if you like the content that we put together here on the Hammer Betting Network, smash that like button. Don't leave without smashing the like button on this video. Subscribe to the Forward Progress channel. I know football season's almost done. We're going to have a ton of off-season stuff as well. Draft coverage, all sorts of futures markets. We will be putting out lots of football content in the offseason and for the rest of playoffs. So subscribe to Forward Progress. Really, really appreciate you guys tuning in today. Good luck with all your bets for the rest of the weekend, unless you're opposite me. Actually, if you're opposite me on the Bucks and you bet the Cowboys, I'll wish you luck on your bet anyways, because that's one wager that I'd rather just get wrong. If the Cowboys can just beat Brady, I'll be happier than winning the money on the game. And I very, 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 very rarely say that. This has been the Pizza Buffet, powered by Pinnacle on the Forward Progress channel. It's part of the Hammer Betting Network. Again, good luck with your bets, everyone. We'll see you all tonight.